This weekend, we got the biggest opening for a movie since 2019, which is huge. We also got social distancing removed from theaters, so we have a lot to talk about in this video. So in this video, I'm breaking down the box office and tell you 3 reasons why I think F9 got to $70 million. I'll also compare it to other movies and tell you what this means for the franchise and tell you what this means for the box office and if this means the box office is back. I will also cover the other movies at the end, so if you want an update on movies, the other movies including Quiet Place 2, Cruella, The Hitman's Wife, Bodyguard, The Conjuring, and In the Heights, then make sure to stick into the end. And I also tell you predictions for the next weekend's box office with debuts and numbers that are probably predicted and the second weekend drop predicted for F9. So that's make sure to stick to the end so you can get the full breakdown of the box office. But before we get started, hi, hope you're having a great day. You're watching Your Entertainment. Please make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and if you find it informative. It took me a long time to definitely put it together this video. It has a lot of information. So definitely make sure to leave a like if you enjoy it and if you find it informative. And also it just really helps. So please and thank you, leave a like. Also make sure to subscribe for a video like this, breaking down the box office and the numbers and all that each week because I'm making these type of videos every week. So if you want to get the full breakdown for the box office every weekend, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Also make sure to leave a comment on what you think of F9, if you want to go see it on theaters, and if you did, how was your experience and all that. Okay, now let's get started. So, how much did F9 do? Well, it made $70 million domestically, easily taking the number one spot, by far, zero competition. This is a huge number during or post pandemic times, but I was to say during pandemic times, especially considering that the last movie that did such numbers, either did the same or even more, was Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, which came out at the end of 2019 in December, which is whoa, that's been a long time. In fact, that was the last one I saw in theaters before Fast and Furious 9. So it's kind of ironic. I find that funny. But this means that the movie also debuted stronger than any of the 2020 pre-pandemic films, which include Bad Boys for Life, Birds of Prey, Sonic, and Onward. So is $70 million good? Well, yes, for sure. The last Fast and Furious movie did $98 million opening weekend. So this movie only went down by 18 million, which considering we're in the middle of a pandemic and the theaters aren't fully open yet and all that, it definitely makes sense to have this little dip, and it's incredibly for the 10th movie in a franchise. It's incredible for a 10th movie in a franchise to do this much money. It's just incredible. The movie also beat Hobbs and Shaw's opening weekend, which made $60 million. I mean, a really good time for Vin Diesel. Why did I say this is good for Vin Diesel? Well, The Rock was trying to get a hold of the Fast and Furious franchise, but I don't think that's happening anymore, especially after a movie that came out in the middle of a pandemic, F9, had a bigger opening weekend than Hobbs and Shaw. So I definitely think that this isn't a good sign for The Rock, which is good. I think he's going on to other projects like Black Adam and all that type of stuff. So that's definitely good, and Vin Diesel can stay with this franchise and do whatever he wants with it. Obviously, the character of Shaw is safe with even having a small cameo in the movie, setting up his future in the franchise, which I'm going to be talking about in a future video, so make sure to subscribe. What does this mean for the box office? Well, this incredible opening weekend shows that movies exclusively in theaters are doing way better than movies having simultaneous releases, with even the second highest opening weekend being A Quiet Place 2, being exclusive to theaters only, without any streaming service or PVOD release and at least 45 days. So definitely keep that in mind. I think that this is going to cause a bunch of other movies to come out exclusively on theaters without any simultaneous release. You're already start seeing it with Snake Eyes, Shang-Chi supposed to come out exclusively, Free Guy supposed to come out exclusively, and so on and so on. So I think you should keep an eye out for that. That definitely is going to start happening a lot more. So I still don't think that big blockbuster movies should come out, especially since they at least need to double their budget to at least make some profit. For example, Fast and Furious 9 may not break even. Why? Well, the movie was at least $200 million, maybe even more, 250 million. It's 200 million plus. Plus, you add to that the marketing, which they had a huge marketing campaign for that. They had a Super Bowl spot on both Super Bowls, 2020 Super Bowl and 2021 Super Bowl, which those spots are not cheap. And they had a bunch of marketing, a bunch of YouTube videos that I watch have Fast and Furious ads. So yeah, this marketing was not cheap. It's probably at least 200 million more. So let's just estimate that the budget is 300 million, which I'm sure it's a little bit more than 300 million. But let's go with 300 million. That means the movie would at least have to make around $600 million to break even, and that I don't know how likely that is to happen. Right now, it's sitting around $400 million, and I don't know if it has $200 million left in the tank. It really depends on the holds for the U.S. and the other places that it distributed this weekend. I still don't see it happening, but it could happen. I still don't see it happening. I don't think it can break even. I think we're gonna start seeing big dips, just like in the China box office. Whenever Fast and Furious dipped immensely, I think that could happen here. And yeah, I don't think it's gonna break even. So definitely keep that in mind whenever the studios are looking whether they should release their big blockbusters, only the big ones, not like medium blockbuster. Like if it's 150 million and under, then it's probably it could come out in theaters because a movie can easily make 300 million plus. But if it's anything higher, like a $200 million budget, then I wouldn't release it. I don't think it's worth it, because I don't think they can make their money back just yet. Maybe by the end of the year they'll be able to make it. For example, Spider-Man No Way Home might have a chance to make its whole budget, which I'm sure is going to be super expensive. So maybe that will have a good chance at making their budget back. But for right now, I think a little bit smaller films, maybe $100 million films, are gonna start coming out, which I think is gonna be great for the theaters. It's gonna start ramping them up, until really big blockbusters start coming out. So yes, yeah, I think that's the first stage you're gonna see in this box office era. I also think that the movie made a bunch of people go back to theaters. I mean, a bunch. It was definitely my first time going back to theaters ever since 2019, which is crazy. So I definitely think it made a bunch of people go back to theaters. I have a lot of friends that also went back to theaters with this movie. So yeah, a lot of people went back to theaters with this movie. And now that they have officially come back, they're probably chances of them coming back again to see a future blockbuster are pretty high. I might go back to see Black Widow in theaters, and then probably Snake Eyes and so on after I already went to theaters for the first time. I think going back is the hard part, and after that, I think you're gonna go back to theaters way more often. So definitely keep that in mind. I think it caused a huge wave of people that hadn't come out to theaters yet come out to theaters, and I think that's gonna affect future movies because I think now they're not gonna have such a dilemma of whether I should go, not go. But there's a pandemic. I don't know if I should go, if I shouldn't go. I think that's gonna be okay. Let's go. It sounds like fun. So definitely, I think that's how it's going to affect the box office there. But is the box office back to pre-pandemic times? Well, definitely no. This would be considered a disappointing box office opening weekend if this was normal times. For example, Solo, a Star Wars story, made $84 million opening weekend, which is considered a big flop. So definitely, and for context, this movie made 70 million. So definitely, it's not back to how it used to be pre-pandemic times. However, compared to the last biggest opening weekend for pandemic times, which was A Quiet Place 2 with $47 million, and then Fast and Furious 9 now coming in with $70 million, then it's huge. This movie literally had a $23 million increase from the last one, which is a huge step up. So what does this mean for the movie box office and all that type of stuff? Well, I think it marks the beginning of the blockbuster movies coming back. I think it's going to start marking that era. And I definitely think that F9 was huge and the recovery of the box office. Because, like I said, it brought a bunch of people back. It made a huge step up from the previous holder for the biggest opening weekend in the pandemic. And I think it showed that big blockbusters are the way to go to get a bunch of money in theaters. I think that the next test will definitely be Black Widow. Keep a lookout. Black Widow is going to be the next big test. And then after that, I think it'll be Snake Eyes, which is a theaters exclusive, whereas Black Widow isn't, which might hurt the box office a little bit. Well, definitely keep a lookout. It's going to be super interesting to see where it debuts and if it can debut bigger than this. If it can, then you're just going to see big blockbusters just coming out left and right, left and right, left and right. So keep a lookout on that. So first, my air just turned on, so You might hear a little bit of background noise. If it does, and if it bothers you, I'm very sorry. If I hope it's not that loud, so cross my fingers. So, how did F9 manage to make $70 million opening weekend when nothing else had come close during these times? Well, reason number one is that this is the first movie to come out in theaters that comes from a $1 billion franchise and it's exclusive to theaters. No simultaneous release, which is huge. Why? Well, because it has this core fan base that will go see every movie no matter how good or bad the reviews are. They're going to go see every movie because they just invested a lot of time in it. And then there's the casual audience, which have watched this franchise grow and have spent time with it and have spent their money with it, that are just like, oh, I want to see the next chapter. And then when they find out that the only way to go see is in theaters, then they go to theaters. So I think that this is definitely huge in the wide appeal. I also think it had a great representation. I know In the Heights has a great representation, but I don't think it appealed to that representation a lot. Like I'm Latino, so whenever they played In the Heights ads, it didn't really appeal to my family or nothing like that because it just didn't have like that sauce to like bring that race or that ethnic group to the movies. But F9 definitely knew how to appeal to this ethnic group, which having famous singers from Spanish or Spanish speaking countries in the movie, and having a very diverse cast and showing a bunch of action and all that type of stuff, and other marketing that they did in Spanish and all that. I think it definitely also brought in a Spanish audience, and also brought in a African American audience with the black characters having such a prominent role. In fact, I'll put like a little chart in here because I don't have this exact statistics, but I'll tell you the breakdown between each ethnic group, and it's a pretty good breakdown. So I think that this movie had a super wide, massive appeal that not all movies have. Like I said, really strong fan base, and then casual moviegoers that have spent so much time with this franchise just wanting to know what happens next, and when they just want to have a good time. I don't really care for what people think. They just like, I want to have a great time, and I definitely had a great time with this movie just as a casual moviegoer. So I think that people would definitely have a great time if they're casual moviegoers. Okay, now let's move on to reason number two. The second reason is that this movie came out in a time during the pandemic where the pandemic is nowhere near as bad as it was before. What do I mean by that? Well, now there's vaccinations, cases are going down, and this allows for movie theaters to reopen, and then this allows the more movie theaters there is, the more screens the movie plays, and the higher the ticket sales go, and that's just a domino effect. So definitely I think that this definitely helped the movie a lot, whereas if you go a couple months back, the pandemic was terrible, and especially like in Christmas, it was terrible. It was the worst that it was probably in the whole pandemic time, and there was barely any theaters open and all that type of stuff, and then now it's in a way better spot. So I definitely think that this definitely benefited this movie a lot, and I mean a lot, because especially with vaccinations, I think people feel safer to go to closed indoor places where they just sit down there and there's a bunch of other people in the same room. I think they feel way safer whenever they have vaccines, which I think definitely helps the box office. And then the more theaters that are open, I mean, there needs to be theaters open so that people can go. And I think this is the time where there's the most theater open. They're not all open yet, especially in Canada, which I definitely think that stops this movie from being as big as pre-pandemic times, or at least get closer to that. But I definitely think that more theaters being open than before, help this movie definitely get to a higher number than any other box office opening weekend has had. And obviously, I think this movie had a bunch of screens to play in, especially since no big debut came out this week, and there's not really any other movie that has the wide appeal or the massive appeal that F9 has. I think they took a lot of screens from different movies, especially probably the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, and they gave it to F9, which I think definitely benefited this movie. And I think it definitely benefited theaters, because I think there was way more in demand for F9 than there was for a movie like the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So definitely, I think this is a huge cause in why people on why this movie made $70 million. Just to recap, theaters being more theaters open, vaccines making people feel safer so that they can go back to theaters, and more screens playing. So this is my second reason why I think F9 did $70 million. F9 still didn't play in as much theaters as it would have done pre-pandemic, and it still didn't play as much screens as it would have done pre-pandemic either. So like I said earlier, I think that's what holds it off from getting closer to the pre-pandemic numbers. I definitely think that's a factor in to take into account when looking at these numbers. Okay, now looking at reason number three, or my reason number three, and that is that theaters took off social distancing. So no more social distancing in theaters. Yes, this past week, theaters took off social distancing or just for the release of Fast and Furious 9, like anticipating the release of Fast and Furious 9, they took it off without any alert, without anything. They just took it off, and causes a lot more people or a lot more seats available for people to get tickets, which obviously gets higher sales for a movie and gets more money for the movie. So in my last video that I did, or box office weekend, I did warn you about this. I did warn that there was a bunch of rumors going around that F9, that theaters were going to take social distancing off for F9. In fact, the link will be in the corner in case you just want to kind of get an idea. But yeah, I definitely said that I think that there's a rumor that social distancing will come off for F9, and it certainly did. And I told you in that video, I said how risky this change might be. Like, it could really be way too soon, that people will go crazy on the internet and complain all over the place, or it could go great and just cause a massive surge in sales. I really thought it was going to go more towards the negative side, especially with how people are towards the pandemic and toward very serious topics, and how they might be a little bit more open to criticism than to positive feedback. But in this case, I was very surprised. I mean, it just worked out amazing. I think there was no other way that it could have worked out better. I saw like barely any to none complaints of no social distancing for theaters. I definitely think that everybody was cool with it. And I think it definitely boosted the box office. I mean, you see the numbers, and it definitely boosted the box office. So definitely, this was a huge win, which is crazy to say, and I'm very happy to say as well, because I wanted theaters to come back like this, and I'm very happy to announce that no social distancing definitely worked out in favor for theaters. But I don't wonder if they're gonna have to put them back on because of the Delta variant. It's proving itself to be very serious threat. So far, I don't think that they will, because it's not very serious in the U.S. yet. It hasn't become that big. But this could very easily change in just a matter of a couple weeks. So it could, social distancing could come back in theaters, but as of right now, I still see no social distancing in theaters for at least the near future. And if the Delta variant gets handled in time, then for the rest of movie theater history, unless another pandemic happens somewhere down the line, which hopefully not. But yeah, if you went to a movie theater this weekend, tell me down in the comments down below if no social distancing bothered you, and if it did, tell me why it bothered you. Like, did you feel like the seats were too close or something, or if you had gone to the theaters previous whenever there was social distancing? So coming back and this time with no social distancing, it just felt kind of weird or something. Just leave me down in the comments down below, or just tell me if you didn't care for it. If you honestly you felt like it was always like that or stuff like that. So definitely tell me down in the comments below. I'm very curious. So those are the three reasons I think F9 is so good on theaters. Tell me if you agree with them. Tell me if you disagree with them. Tell me if you have a different reason for why you think F9 is so good in theaters. I'm curious to read those reasons down below, so definitely comment them down below, and I'll definitely respond with my thoughts on whatever reasons you have. So yeah, okay, keep going. Me keeping going now. Let me keep going now. I don't know, whatever. Just me keeping going. What does this mean? What does this amazing big opening weekend mean for the franchise? Well, that definitely means more movies down the line, for sure. In fact, it just got announced that F10 and F11, or Fast and Furious 10 or Fast and Furious 11, I don't know what they're going to call them, they're going to film back-to-back in January of 2022. So definitely this boosted the production by a lot. I definitely think that they just hyped up the studio and they were like, okay, let's keep making more and let's keep printing money. So definitely keep expecting bigger and more ridiculous things from this franchise as well, because clearly it's printing money. So definitely keep expecting that. Also, maybe expect even more spin-offs of the franchise. Maybe a Sean spin-off or what they set up in the cameo that he had in the movie. But who knows? I definitely think that it's gonna have it has a lot of potential still. I don't know if they're really gonna end it in the 11th film. I guess it depends to see how much money that film does. But it definitely means that they're gonna keep making these films and just spend a huge amount of budget money into these films because they're gonna make even more money. So yeah, definitely expect that for the franchise. Okay, now let's go over the rest of the list for the weekend's box office, and let's start with A Quiet Place 2 because it got second place, making $6.2 million in the fifth weekend of it being out, which is incredible, and it now has $137 million domestically. But you know what else is incredible? That F9 made $6.5 million just yesterday, or I guess for you, not yesterday, but by the time I'm filming this, yesterday on Monday. Which alone, on Monday alone, beating any movie any money that any movie this past weekend made, even including A Quiet Place 2, which made $6.2 million. No, F9 did $6.5 million on just Monday. So this movie is definitely proving itself to be a huge blockbuster, and it's printing money right now. It's crazy to see this type of big numbers once again in the box office, and it makes me really happy because it just shows that the box office is truly starting to recover. Okay, next is The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which got $4.9 million in its second weekend with a 57.4% drop. So the movie's doing okay, I guess. I think it will do better. I think it'll do way better on the PVOD. So far, I think it's doing okay. It's not doing great. The reviews weren't great either. They were okay. So the movie's doing just okay. So yeah, definitely expect to do great on PVODs. It looks like a great PVOD movie. Okay, then going to the fourth place film is Peter Rabbit 2, which got $4.8 million on its third weekend with only a drop of only 21%, which definitely shows that this movie is definitely holding on and it's having great legs, especially after that very bad opening weekend. So hopefully it can make some good money and break even and just be a pretty good hit for Sony. Always like just positive vibes for every film. So definitely hope it does a great job in the box office. As of right now, it's holding great. But you want to know what else is holding great? Cruella. It's holding on, and now it's in the top 5, which in its fifth weekend, just like A Quiet Place 2 in its fifth weekend, making $3.8 million, giving a total of $72 million overall. That's great. It's not anywhere near as good as A Quiet Place 2, obviously, but it's still doing great. Well, not doing great. It's doing good. I'm gonna say it's doing good, not great, but doing good. We have to see, of course, how those Disney Plus Premier Access sales are doing, but so far it's doing pretty good, and I can definitely see the sequel being made even after it was announced. Okay, now looking at the sixth place, The Conjuring took the sixth place with $3 million. Not holding well, and In the Heights took seventh place with $2.2 million. Also terrible. I think that these show that these films did not have any very much wide appeal, and it's very sad because I heard that In the Heights was great, and clearly it's not doing very great. And The Conjuring, I think it's just that HBO Max. I mean, if you want to see that movie, it's probably better for you just to see it on HBO Max. So I think that's definitely took a lot of its box office, and I also think that it just didn't have that wide appeal that other movies did. If you want to talk more about why I think In the Heights failed, I made a video about it, so link will be in the corner, or I think I already put it, but link will be in the description to tell you why I think that In the Heights probably failed. My thoughts on why In the Heights failed. And lastly, the next weekend's predictions. So it is predicted that F9 will drop 60%, making $28 million next weekend. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if it dropped more. In fact, I'm expecting it to drop more. And I'll be very surprised if it only drops 60%, especially since these blockbuster movies drop a lot. And we're in the middle of a pandemic where we were seeing them even drop even more. And especially after that Chinese box office with 89% drop, I definitely think that this is going to have a bigger drop than 60%. So I doesn't be surprised if it drops less than 60% or 60% itself. So, and if it did drop 160%, then that would be huge for the movie, and the movie will do great. But let's see how it does this next upcoming weekend. Then, Boss Baby 2 is also debuting, and it's expected to drop in second place with $15 million, and it's going to be a simultaneous release with Peacock, Peacock isn't as big as Disney Plus or as HBO Max, so it definitely won't affect the box office anywhere near as much as those streaming services. And 15 million seems like a moderate debut. Not great, but not bad. Just moderate. I can see it definitely landing there. I can see it landing less, and I can see it landing more. But that's the estimate as of right now. And The Purge is expected to drop at $10 million, taking third place, and that will make Universal have the top 3 box office movies of the weekend, which is going to be crazy and super funny. But yeah. Well, that will be it for this video. Tell me if you're going to see any movie this weekend, or if you went this past weekend. Tell me what you think of F9, how much you enjoyed that experience, going back to theaters and all that. And also tell me what you think of F9's box office numbers, and what you think it means for the box office in general. And what your predictions are for Black Widow after F9 did this great. Also, leave a like, because it really took a long time to make this video. I mean, it took a long time. So definitely leave a like to show your support, and it really helps this video out. So please leave a like, and thank you. Also, subscribe for more in-depth analysis like this. Definitely subscribe. I do one of these every single week, so make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And this is your entertainment. Out.